I am Emily. My family has been living in Argentina for 6 months of 2024. And for our very last trip before we moved back to the US, we went to Patagonia. We went to the eastern side of Patagonia, so the east coast of Argentina. We didn't go to the Andes where everyone kind of thinks where Patagonia is, but Patagonia is a very large region. And while we were there, we went on a penguin excursion. The real reason we were there was to see penguins. We promised our daughter that when we came to Argentina, we would see penguins. And we'd looked at different options. I really wanted to go to Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in Argentina and possibly the world, because it's so close to Antarctica. You can see the glaciers and the mountains, and it's incredible. But all the penguin excursions that I found involved boats and traveling long distances to see these penguins, and they were expensive. Like, it was at least $300 a person, USD. So then we started looking at different options, and we looked into the Puerto Madryn area, and I found a couple of different options, and we decided to go with a specific one at El Pedral, where you can go, and it's a whole day trip. So they take you to Punta Ninfas, which is where there's a lighthouse, and then they take you down to where the penguin colony is, which is on this private property. And then you come back and you have a full Patagonian lunch and explore the property a little bit, and then have like Welsh tea and cake if you want, and then they take you back to Puerto Madryn. Transportation's all included. You have super close interaction with the penguins, and it was less than $400 for all of us to go instead of $300 a person. So this is what we decided to do. So I'm going to take you through our day and the entire experience because it was so cool, so that if you are interested in doing something similar, you know what to expect. So we met the guides at their office in downtown Puerto Madryn, and they took us in a large van, and we picked up 2 other groups. So there were 7 of us total, because there were the 4 of us and then a group of 2 women and then 1 other woman that went with us as well. So we had tons of space on this van, and we were actually scheduled to do this on Thanksgiving Day, but due to rain that is very unseasonal for them and rain that they'd had all week, it was pushed back to the next day, so Friday, and it took us about an hour and a half to get to Punta Ninfas, which was our first stop. And there is a lighthouse here. You are right on the ocean, and there are cliffs that drop down to it. My husband was raised on the west coast of the US, and he said it reminded him quite a bit of like the Oregon coast, except the water is a lot clearer and it is very barren here, but the geography was similar. So we spent about 10 minutes here kind of just looking at the coast and the cliffs, which is incredible. And the water is so clear here. You can see how light blue it is. And this is looking out into the Gulf and then into the Atlantic Ocean. And then you can see the lighthouse that was behind us, which was really cool. It is still a functioning lighthouse. They use solar panels for this. You can also see how barren this area is. There's not a whole lot here. After this, we drove another 20-30 minutes to the El Pedral estate so that we could have a bathroom break and get some waters. We also saw the lamb that was roasting for us for lunch, which looked and smelled amazing. And we got to see where we would be eating lunch, which looked incredible. The pool looked very inviting as well, but it was a little chilly. We were then driven about 15 minutes closer to where the penguin colony is, and we got out of the van and started walking. And it's funny because the guide told us that we probably wouldn't see as very many penguins at the start because we were still pretty far away from the beach. We're about 2 kilometers from the beach. And of course, within 3 minutes, we saw penguins on both sides of us. These are Magellanic penguins. They're fairly small, and they live kind of in warmer climates. So they live here for 7 months of the year, and then for 5 months, they live just in the water, and they swim north up to Brazil, where the anchovies tend to live in the water up there. So they live on land here in Argentina for 7 months out of the year because this is where they breed. They build these nests starting in September. The males come and start building their nests, and then the females come a few weeks later, and then they start laying their eggs. And then the eggs hatch in November. So our timing was perfect because we were there the end of November, so we actually got to see a bunch of penguin chicks on our visit. Now, these penguins alternate mother and father who goes out to the ocean to go get food, and they have to go about 2 kilometers each way to go to the ocean to get food, depending on how far away they are from the ocean. Obviously, the penguins that have nests that are right next to the ocean don't have to go as far. I'd say that we saw a few hundred penguins on this walk. It was 2 kilometers each direction. It was very hot. We were very tired by the end. I'm so glad we had water, and we definitely needed sunscreen. We were then driven in the van back to the ranch where we had lunch. I didn't get any pictures or videos of the lunch because I was busy with kids, but I did get a video of the menu so you can see what that is. When we were done eating, we then got a tour of the ranch. So it really isn't much of a working ranch anymore. I do know that they do have some sheep, but that's in a separate part of the ranch. But this property is now a hotel. It's the original house, which is really cool. But you can only stay here if you have 10 guests at a minimum. So keep that in mind if that's something you're interested in. After our tour, they did offer us Welsh cake and tea. We weren't really interested in that, so we just hung out for a little bit, and then they drove us back to Puerto Madryn, and we were dropped off back at the office. So hopefully that gave you a really good perspective on what the day looked like. It was definitely exhausting. We were all trashed by the end of the day. I will say that every single day that we spent in Patagonia, we were all exhausted by the end of the day, just because we jam-packed every day full of stuff. But it was so much fun. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth the money. And while it was difficult with the baby, it was perfect for our daughter. So I would not necessarily suggest taking a child under the age of like 5 because it's kind of hard, but over that age, definitely a good fit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this in your feed.